Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. In this video, I will be doing my Crusaders versus Rebels preview for the upcoming match of Super Rugby Pacific. But if you do enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. But nonetheless, let's get straight into this preview. So this game, it is the last game that has taken place of the Super Round at AAMI Park, and it will be Crusaders up against the Rebels. Now, these two sides met not actually that long ago. It was the last game of Super Rugby Trans-Tasman for both of these sides. And in the end, the Crusaders, they were victorious, but they did miss out on that bonus point, which kept them out of the Super Rugby Trans-Tasman final. So they will be out for blood in this game. But the Rebels, they are playing some pretty good rugby at the moment. That is why this battle should be a very awesome one to see as the last game. Looking through at the previous results for the Crusaders. Now, something you'll notice is the Crusaders have been having a lot of close games lately. The first one we are looking at is the Highlanders versus Crusaders. They were able to win that one at Orange Theory Stadium, 17 points to 14. So an extremely close game up against their South Island rivals. Then looking through at the next game, it was up against the Hurricanes, and that game was actually only decided by 3 points as well, and in the end it was 24 points to 21 in favour of the Crusaders. That was actually away from home at Sky Stadium for that game, but then they were back at home for their next game up against the Blues, and they were defeated. 4 points was the difference between the two sides there, and it was 27 points to 23 in that game up against the Blues. Now, the big thing for the Crusaders is in their last 3 games, all of their games have been decided by 4 points or less, but they've been on the victory side of that 2 times out of the 3, so that will give them a bit of confidence going into their next game up against the Rebels. And normally you don't want the Crusaders to be your opponent after they've had a loss, as that is normally when they're at their most fired up. Couple different changes in the Crusaders lineup, including a return of Kuchu as out for this game. No Will Jordan is another big player that I did see was out for this game. So it's going to be interesting to see how they match up against the Rebels, who have also got themselves a big return, and Rob Leota slotting back in at blindside flanker. But looking through now at the previous fixtures for the Rebels, they did have their high-scoring game up against the Fijian Drua, in which they were victorious, 42 points to 27 in that one. Then up against the Western Force, it was a close game, but in the end they did get themselves a narrow victory, 22 points to 21. And then the last game that they had was up against the Reds, and that was 36 points to 32 in favour of the Reds. So an extremely close one for the Rebels, but every time that they have played recently, they have been able to bring up quite a few points, in fact averaging over 30 for their last 3 encounters, although up against the Crusaders could be a completely different story. It is at AAMI Park though, so they have got the home field advantage. But now looking through at some key players, I feel, for both of these sides to watch out for. For the Crusaders, I'm going Sevu Reece. He's out on the wing for this game, and with no Will Jordan, I feel like this is the time for Sevu Reece to really step up his game, and hopefully he does have a very impressive game down the wing. I assume that he will be able to get himself at least 1 try throughout this fixture up against the Rebels. Another player that I'm going with is Ethan Blackadder. He's just a workhorse, sitting at number 7 for this game. Alongside him in the loose forward trio, Pablo Mateta and Cullen Grace, both in some very good form as well. Ethan Blackadder is certainly surrounded by a lot of talent, and I think he is going to have a standout performance. The last name that I've gone with here is going to be the return of Sam Whitelock, the veteran. He's back at line-out time. He's going to be so important for the Crusaders set play, and also just having that kind of cool head out there on the field in an important game for the Crusaders to keep on building momentum towards the quarterfinals. Then looking through at the Rebels, I've got 3 names as well. First of all, Cobus Eloff. He has scored a huge amount of tries for a prop or anyone in the competition for that matter. He's just in some tremendous form, whether that's in the breakdown or whether that is scoring himself a try. Cobus Eloff, you know he's going to give you 110% for all of the time that he's out on the field, which is why he is going to be one that I think is going to stand out in this game for the Rebels. Another player, Glenn Vaihu. Anytime that man receives a kickoff, expect to make about 20 metres, because he always seems to find a gap, and that could be a very useful skill to have up against the Crusaders in such an important fixture. Then looking through at the last name I've got, I've actually gone with a lock as well for the Rebels, and this time I've gone with Matt Phillip, and just having that little bit more experience, of course not as much as Whitelock, but still having a cool, calm, collected head alongside Josh Hill at line-out time, who has hardly any caps under his belt. So that is why I have decided that Matt Phillip will also be able to have a pretty solid game. But now it is the time for score predictions, and this one's going to sound harsh, but the Crusaders, after coming off a loss, it's do or die for them in this competition. So that is why I'm saying Crusaders win this game up against the Rebels. And even though the Rebels have been in some good form, I'm saying Crusaders win it by 28 points. Very harsh, hoping it's not a reality, but that is the score that I am going to be going with. But nonetheless, thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all for the next one.